after a busy week, the Cubs, what are they singing down in Wrigleyville these days?
Go Cubs, go.
They are singing Go Cubs, go indeed. They finish a week 6-2 after sweeping the Angels in Anaheim. It's being called Wrigley Field West. There were so many Cubs fans in the stands this weekend, apparently, that and then you couple that with the lack of Angels enthusiasm at the moment, and you get like almost a home game for the Cubs.
And then you get Kyle Hendricks on the mound, which is another Cub that got moved to the Angels.
And Cubs fans are like, oh, I want to go see Kyle.
Yeah.
You know? And so it was a pretty much an extension of the home games.
Yep.
And the Cubs handled it with grace. They sweep. They also got some good news with Kyle Tucker. We'll talk about that in a second. But this leaves the Cubs with 31 games remaining, just trailing the Brewers by 5 games now, only in the NL Central. And they have a pretty decent lock on the wild card right now. They're 2 games ahead of the Dodgers and Padres both, who are tied for first in the National League West and the second NL wild card spot. And then they are 6.5 games ahead of the Mets, which is probably giving Cubs fans some PTSD back to the summer of '69 if you were around. But yeah. We got a pretty sizable lead on the Mets, looking pretty comfortable, and they've been struggling a lot. They got their own problems to worry about with the Reds right now. So Cubs looking in good position to at least make the playoffs, of course. But I want to ask the question today, can the Cubs still win the Central Division somehow, despite the fact that the Brewers were hotter than shit recently?
They can? Will they?
Will they? Well, let's see, Nika. Shall we take it one step at a time?
Yes, please.
I mentioned him already, Kyle Tucker. What a sight for sore eyes that must have been this weekend for Cubs fans. 3 home runs against the Angels, including 2 on Saturday night, ending this huge drought of games.
So he had 2 in one game.
He did.
Nice.
A multi-homer game. He also
nice.
joined Pete Crow-Armstrong as being a 2020 player, 20 homers and 20 stolen bases. It's the first time the Cubs have had 2 2020 players on a team this late in the season or this early in the season. I don't know if they've ever had 2 2020 players on their team in a season.
That's really good.
So that's really cool. Yeah. But nevertheless, is this evidence now that the slump is over, Nika? Is the 3 home runs in 3 games enough?
Sure, why not?
Sure, I'm going to say probably not.
Probably not, yeah.
Nevertheless, I think this is a reason we should all be encouraged right now.
It's a good reason to celebrate the Cubs today.
You need a healthy Kyle Tucker down the stretch if you want to catch the Brewers, which is what I was just talking about. And, anytime you can get a higher seed in the playoffs, I think you ought to take it and guarantee if you can guarantee yourself a series at Wrigley and get through just based on the crowd alone, you should take it. Yeah. And the higher, the better. So the Cubs need a healthy Kyle Tucker in order to do that.
How is their schedule for the next 31 games?
Well, we'll talk about that at the end.
Okay.
I want to talk about some Cubs injuries because unlike the Dodgers and the Padres both, who have some big name players kind of on their injured lists that are going to be coming back for the stretch run, the Cubs really don't when it comes to like big names that are going to like make an impact at like getting a trade or something like that. And it's not Max Muncy. It's not Tommy Edman.
So the Cubs
it's not
team,
Michael King. It's not Jackson Merrill.
Sure. So that what you see on the field right now, this is it pretty much.
Right. You might see Mike Soroka again, but since he left after being traded here, we have not heard much about the status of his back injury.
Yeah.
At least what I looked up this morning, I was like, wow, not a lot of updates. You know,
So
I don't know if he's a part of this stretch run or not. He's not injured or anything, but Owen Casey, he's probably going to be here to stay. It sounds like Jed Hoyer is planning on using him as a, pinch hit bat off the bench type of role player on this team.
Okay.
That's fine. I don't know if that's better than him getting regular at bats in the minor leagues still, considering his age. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to play in the majors because he does.
Yeah, but his defense is not where you want to be.
It's not Kyle Tucker out
No.
there, that's for sure. And I think this is going to make Craig Counsell's job tough down the stretch, because I want to remind everyone, you have PCA, Ian Happ, you have Kyle Tucker, you have Seiya Suzuki, you have Justin Tormund Turner on the bench. So you already have a lot of players there, and to now add Owen Casey into that mixture, it's like, where are all these players going to get their at bats and contribute and feel like a part of the nucleus? You know what I mean? So it's a tough job for Counsell right now.
Well, we always said that the Cubs have a plethora of outfielders, and it's really crowded, and they haven't moved any of them by the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And that's their problem, holding on to those chips.
I know there's a lot of Cubs fans that will disagree with me right now, but I feel like they should have just focused on the season in front of them a little bit more, and possibly made some tougher decisions when it comes to letting go of prospects. Like, I want to remind you, Owen Casey has no guarantees of being a Hall of Famer on the first ballot. He has no guarantees of ever making an all-star team.
Of course not.
It's all possible.
It's a hypothetical.
It's all achievable, but
you have to get there.
Ask Padres fans if they miss C.J. Abrams or Mackenzie Gore or some of these other players that they yes, there are some painful ones like James Wood, but
you still didn't know him, whether he's going to be a great player or not at the moment when you traded him. He was a prospect,
right? But when you look at the totality, it's like one or two players are maybe missed out of all these prospects that they trade away every year and deplete their farm system with. And these guys are poker chips at this point for the GMs to play with. Yeah. And sometimes people hold on to their chips too long. I think the Cubs may have done that this year. Now, let's talk about some good news for the Cubs. The Cubs have the second easiest strength of schedule remaining it's ranked 29th. Their combined opponents' winning percentage is .456, 45.6%. So the Cubs have that in their favor. But I say that, and I say be careful, because the Padres and Dodgers have the 26th and 30th, respectively. So these three teams are jockeying for that top wild card position. And while you have a 2-game lead over both of them right now, you cannot get complacent here, because they are competing with each other for the division crown, and they're not going to be giving up lightly. Neither one of them for that. They're going to be playing tough down the stretch and fighting for every single win. So the Cubs have to not get complacent and keep focused on the Brewers in order to keep their pace in the wild card, if that makes sense. Like, as long as they think the Brewers are attainable, then they won't be like necessarily losing ground in the wild card, hopefully, because they're going to be trying to put pressure more on the Brewers. Now, the Cubs are also having a sizable lead over the Mets. We mentioned 6.5 games. And while the Cubs have the easiest schedule, the Mets have the fourth most difficult strength of schedule, according to everyone. So the Cubs will be a playoff team almost assuredly, just like the Padres and Dodgers will be playoff teams almost assuredly. It's just, where do you want to play and how do you want to go through the playoffs to get to the World Series and hopefully put yourself in a chance to win it? That's what it's about. That is what it's about. So if you're the Cubs, you got to like where you stand, but you got to take care of business against the teams that you're supposed to beat. And, oh, by the way, the Brewers, they have the 10th strongest strength of schedule remaining. They don't have an easy road. They have to play Philadelphia, Toronto, San Diego, Cincinnati, and Texas. All teams that right now are competing for playoff, not just to make it, but to where they sit in that playoff and what gives them the best chance to win. So
there is no easy games. There is none. Whether the team is out or the team is in the playoffs.
I know. And I think the strength of schedule argument, while it's interesting and you do have to look at the individual opponents, because even the Rockies, like they beat the Dodgers 2 out of 4 games last week. And it now cost them being in first place. Like, all they had to do was win one more of those games, which they should have. Let's be honest, they should have. And instead, now they're tied with the Padres to this weekend.
Yeah, It will come. Those games will come back and haunt you later in
They
the
will.
standings. There's no makeup games. This is it. 162, and it's over.
Absolutely. So knowing that, though, the Cubs should push for that division title and not settle because, in my opinion, if they really, truly want to win the World Series, they should try and win the National League Central, because if they win the National League Central, they are going to get a first-round bye most likely.
Go Cubs, go.
You're going to be one of the top 2 teams in the National League. You're going to get that first-round bye. You're going to get that second round then at home with home field. We saw how important it was last year. The Dodgers probably won that series against the Padres 3-2 because of home field advantage.
You could make that argument, sure.
They both won a road game in that series, but the Dodgers had the last one. And
It's
you
always
want to
tough.
have the last game at home.
Yeah, that's the toughest game with the unfriendly crowds.
All right. Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you think the Cubs have a chance to catch the Brewers? I think they do. I think the Brewers, I think some of their best regular season baseball is behind them. They are a fundamentally sound team. They do put the ball in play as much as the Padres do and as much as some of the other low strikeout teams. But I also know that they're not going to win 14 in a row again this year. The odds of that are super unlikely. So if you're the Cubs, now's your time to get hot and put the pressure back on. And the more pressure you put on, the harder it is going to be for them. They're going to feel you coming. You know, they had such a big lead, and they're going to feel you coming.